Hello, and welcome back to the second episode of the If You're Listening to This, We're Probably Dead podcast. My name is Niall, I'm your host, and as always is my co-host.
I'm Charlie.
And producer Louis over in the computer desk.
You're not supposed to use my name.
Oh shit, would you... Wait. Do you want us to edit that out?
No, it's okay. It's okay. Just
Okay.
Let's try to learn from this mistake.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So today is a film... I've always loved this film. It's a film that I think I first watched this in, I want to say 2019, around then. And it just has stuck with me since. It's probably the film that whenever I think of like a British horror film, which we'll get into because if you look it up, you probably won't understand straight away that it's a horror film.
That was a shocker to me. Watching it.
I really, really like this film. I've been wanting... It's like a film that I love to show people. Or like, if someone's looking for a recommendation... More so if someone's looking for a recommendation of like, oh, do you have any like good horror films? I'm like, I've got the film for you. But before we get into it, please go and watch this film. It's from 2011.
2011.
It's directed by Ben Wheatley. It stars Neil Maskell, Michael Smiley, and Mariana Burning, who are all incredible. Mariana Burning, by the way, being in The Witcher. She's very good in that, and she's also in The Witcher game, but we'll get into that later. It's just a fun little thing I learned recently.
And Reverend Green. Reverend Green's in it.
Reverend Green is in it, Michael Smiley.
I mean, as soon as the whole time I was watching that film, every single time we came on screen, it's like
Reverend Green.
I've got a little. We've got a little secret password, so have we got any drugs? You got any drugs?
So good. It's so good. I want to say, I think like when you do a film podcast, at some point people want you to do like trilogies. We do have plans to do the Cornetto trilogy.
Oh, do we?
At some point I'd like to do it as like a special where we do like 3 episodes but release them. I don't know, this is not anything that you guys need to be concerned with, to be honest. But yeah, please watch this film before listening to this podcast because we are going to do heavy spoilers.
Yes, I think talking about this film in any cert will be spoilers.
Yeah.
Because I know this is going to the first 20 minutes of this film I was very bored, and I know this is going to offend Niall because I know you like this.
We'll get into that, but like first of all, let's give a summary. So, nearly a year after a botched job, a hitman takes on a new assignment with the promise of a big payoff for 3 killings. What starts off as an easy task soon unravels, sending the killer into the heart of darkness.
So that's the synopsis from IMDb.
Yeah.
And reading that, it tells you, like, if I read that before watching the film, I wouldn't have expected that film to come out of what that synopsis said. I don't think that synopsis is very good, in my opinion.
I will disagree with you on that, actually.
You will?
I hate to say it. By the way, I do want to say, I think last week we did a lot of just plot summary. This week we're being more chilled out with it.
Yes.
We're just talking about what we liked, what we didn't like. We got producer Louis with all the facts, all the trivia. He's ready to give us some fun facts later. It's going to be Louis' fun fact hour.
You know, we're gonna. I love fun facts.
Yeah.
Here's a fun fact for you all. Did you know that Gog from Peep Show,
Plays
aka Gareth
priest.
Tunley, stars in this film?
Yes, he does. Have you seen Peep Show?
I have seen Peep Show.
Yeah, Gog. Would you get me a
plays the
kebab?
priest.
He does play the priest, which we'll get into all of that very soon. But first of all, Charlie.
Yes.
I've been dying to know since you told me that you'd seen it. What did you think of this?
This film is very... I still haven't got a clear vision of what I think about this film. I first watched it and I just was with the ending. I was just so shocked that it turned into a cult horror film.
It's a bit Burning Man near the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
That I was a bit. Yeah, it just kind of like blew me away a little bit. Like you've got the whole ending of him, like he goes off and goes to. They chase him to his to the house. He's with his wife and his kid, and he tells the wife and kid stay in the house, and he'll go deal with them. And then he gets kind of like, I think he gets drugged. Is that correct? Or
From what I remember, yeah, he gets drugged.
and then
Does he?
Or they capture him at least.
They do capture him.
They capture him at least.
Yes.
And then they put the mask on that they're all wearing, and he has to fight this like.
We'll get into that. I do want to get like more in depth with the certain aspects of the film, but generally,
my opinion's changing every day. I remember when I watched it in the afternoon, sorry, and I was a little bit like, I typically love cult horror films. Like one of my favorite ones is Midsummer.
yeah,
And it's a cult horror film.
there's some midsummerness to this.
Yeah, it's the creepy vibe, I'd say. Like when in the movie, as he's going around killing the other assassins, there's 3 people he needs to assassinate. As he goes around and he's finding killing them all, and he finds out there's a story. It's all linked. You can hear like the people he's killing are like, oh, thank you, and like being really mysterious. And to me, that's what got me. That's what hooked me. I'm not gonna lie, the first 40 minutes.
So, okay, yeah, the first they were boring for you.
I wouldn't say boring. The first 20 minutes was especially boring because they were just arguing. And I'm not gonna lie, I was sitting there, I'm like, right, I don't really understand what's going on. They're just kind of shouting at each other. And then Reverend Green comes in, and then I find out, okay, yep, they're assassins.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, right, just wait until... the whole thing, I was just waiting for it to kick in. Then it starts to kick in. And the thing that got me immediately was that first assassin. When he was like, oh, he's a reverend... Well, Reverend Green's about to kill a reverend. And he's saying all these words like, thank you. And as soon as it happens, and he's like, what did he say thank you for? And that got me. That mystery right there. The mystery of the film, I will say, is brilliant.
I think, okay, so to add my 2 cents, I would say that the first... How long is the opening? Like 20 minutes? 20, 30 minutes?
Yeah, I'd say
let's say 20 minutes. I think the first 20 minutes, to me, incredible. Because it goes from being like a realist kitchen sink drama from like the 90s to 2000s, like Mike Leigh, Ken Loach, Nil by Mouth by Gary Oldman, like those sort of kitchen sink English films that deal with real people. Just like because you're basically just watching like a couple and their son for the first
20
minutes,
and they just argue, and then their like friends come over.
The dinner party's in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you see their friend go into, or Michael Smiley's Reverend Green's character, go into the toilet, and she takes a thing off the wall and then does
she does like a curve because I watched that and I was like, the whole time I was watching the movie thinking she was going to be the villain, kind of it, which she kind of is in the end. Again, the one thing I will say about the film is why I'm so on it, very like with mixed feelings, is I don't think I understand it. I think that's the one thing I will say. It's there's some really, really, really good moments in it. I wouldn't say it's a bad film.
I think it's a film that warrants rewatches.
Yes, I would say that. I think
because this is my 5th time watching it.
Yeah,
I've seen it a lot.
I probably agree that it has so much rewatchability because I think every time you'd watch it, you'd get more from it. And I think if I was in the cinema and I watched that film in 2011. I don't know how I would feel walking out in it. I think I'd probably say, yeah, it's good, but then I would, like it's just on my brain. Especially the ending, because it was just such a shock to me.
The ending is like the most depressing thing ever.
But
it's so depressing.
Yeah.
It's so depressing.
So do you want to explain what the ending is?
So throughout the film, you have these title cards of the targets he's going after. So I believe it's from what I remember, it's a priest.
Yeah.
It comes out as it says the priest, the librarian, the MP, and then it comes up at the end. You're like, okay, well, there was only supposed to be 3 targets, and then it comes up and says the hunchback.
Yeah.
And this sort of shambling thing covered in cloth comes out, and he's come out as well. He has a mask on him now. This is the main guy. Not, I know the actor Neil Maskell, but I'm trying to remember the character's name. I believe it's something with a G. Jay.
I'm pretty sure it's Jay.
Jay comes out, and he's wearing the mask of the cult, and he's got a knife. So what's important to remember is that Jay and his partner were soldiers.
Yeah.
So he's got that sort of, it almost looks like a tactical fighting stance, with the hunchback thing is just sort of sloppily going towards them. It's them that are drugged. So the hunchback, he kills it, he takes the thing off top, everyone's clapping for him, and then he realises, oh fuck, I've just stabbed my wife and son to death.
Yeah. But the wife's smiling.
The wife's smiling, so... the thing I've never been able to figure out is whether she was...
I think she was in it. I think she was part of the
involved.
cult because she did make she did the carve. She made the sign.
When?
In the toilet, you said. She did that.
No, that's not his wife. His wife doesn't do that.
I definitely think she's part of it.
Michael Smiley's wife does that. Or his girlfriend.
But I also...
She takes the mirror off and then does it in the back.
But I also think because she's smart, she's smiling.
I think that she probably has something to do with it.
Yeah.
But I don't, or it could just be the drugs. But it's very open-ended,
yeah.
I feel. Which is what I like. I really like Ben Wheatley's films, by the way. They're really good.
I would say I watched it from... because it hooks you. It will hook you when it gets going.
It's literally when he shoots the priest.
Yeah, I would say
when
even
it,
before
kicks.
then, when they're planning that. Like the one thing that I knew. So I didn't know it was a horror. I didn't know it was a cult horror.
And I didn't tell Charlie any of this.
I went into it thinking it was going to be an action movie because the only thing you said to me was that it was about assassins. And I was like, okay, cool. So when I went in the first 20 minutes, they're just arguing. I was like, all right, the wife's going to be an assassin and they're going to fight and that's what the ending's going to be. Then it moves on to with Reverend Green and their partners. And then they go to the hotel where they're staying at and they meet the guy. And then you meet the bit where they're in there having dinner together. And then the guy's just playing church music or playing Christian music.
There's like a group of them, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like a Christian love group. Like, hey, let's love God.
And that bit there...
And he freaks out, doesn't he? Doesn't he smash up their fucking guitar?
He does something. But as soon as that happens, I immediately was like, that's weird to be in an action movie.
And he looks out the window and he sees Michael Smiley's girlfriend standing there and just waving
at him.
And he's just like, hi.
And I think from that bit there, I was like, okay, I'm interested. That caught my interest. And then I would say it was just a go from there. I felt like it was very well paced, except the last 20 minutes in my opinion. I mean the first 20 minutes, sorry.
But I feel like you need that first 20 minutes to be slow for it to then build up.
Yeah.
I feel like if it was that pace all the way through, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. The other thing I was going to say is that I think it perfectly captures like that southeast thing that England has.
Yeah.
Where it's just like kind of bleak.
Yeah. I definitely agree
all the
that.
hotels are just fucking horribly depressing.
All just like
it's so
white walls.
I feel like I don't want to speak for Ben Wheatley as a filmmaker, but I feel like the way in which he presented this, because it doesn't obviously say where it's set. Obviously, you know it's set in England. We'll get into like where it was possibly supposed to be set later, and you like the initial inspirations. But I feel like it's just that perfect look at what modern England is like. just on a purely looks level, like just the most grey, drab fucking.
Especially when it's not in the summer, like
with that heat, you can feel the kind of heat at some point.
It's just kind of it's a dull grey. That's literally what Britain is majority of the time.
Yeah. And
I think he captured that brilliantly. Even like how they were, like in how their tone was, like they were just it didn't feel like they were very much acting it. Sometimes it did feel like you were just watching two guys
go to work, because that's what it feels like to me. It doesn't feel like you're watching something like when you say to someone, "Oh, there's a really good like Hitman film," you would think stuff like, "I don't know." I'm just thinking. I'm not saying that these are the Hitman films, but like Gross Point Blank with John Cusack,
the one
we've all watched,
the one we watched with Tom Cruise.
No, with John Cusack. Oh, the one with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, Collateral. That was it.
Those kind of films where it's like, look how much of a badass he is. Look how he can take out 20 guys with one fucking gun. He does tactical shit.
John Wick,
that kind of shit. But in this, they're just kind of blue collar guys.
Yeah.
Who is just, I'm gonna.
It was very realistic as well. Not the cult kind of thing, but like the vibe of them.
But even the cult thing felt real. That's what scares me most about that bit in the There's a part in this, you'll know it when you watch it, where they're going through a tunnel.
Yes, I was going to bring that up.
And it is fucking terrifying. It is so scary.
Yeah.
And it all works because of Neil Maskell's performance in that moment. Because it's not like, you can tell just the way he behaves in character that the guy's supposed to be an ex-soldier. There's like a distance to him. I'm not saying that's how all fucking ex-soldiers act, but in films, typically that's how they're presented, right? But there's like a distance to him where he's like, he clearly hasn't, and I think he says it in the film, he's like, I've not really fully clicked back into civilian life. And then there's that bit in this, like, how would you describe it? Like
it's like I would have said it's like
a corridor, not a corridor.
It was like
a tunnel.
Yeah, it was like a sewage tunnel.
Yeah,
and they run in there because this is when they first see the cult, don't they?
His fucking eyes.
His
eyes scare the shit out of me.
It tells you the story.
It's like you can taste the fear in the air. Mm-hmm. It's so scary. It's so well done.
Yeah.
That I just love that last 10-15 minutes. I love the whole film, but that 10-15 minutes at the end is so perfect.
One of my favourite scenes was when you first see the cult. So you know something culty's going on from I would say from so my favourite scene I'd say is when they go to the librarian and they start basically they're just gonna go kill him, and when the guy when the guy who's getting
you don't when they check his laptop.
Yeah.
And
they say to him, you've basically Reverend Green goes, I'm going to your bank to steal your money, to steal the money. And he goes upstairs, and then he whispers to Jay, and he goes like, "Oh yeah, thank you." And he does the same thing as the first guy, and then Jay just kind of loses it a little bit. He's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "No, thank you. This is."
Because his face is all fucked up, isn't it? Because he's been beating the shit out of.
And then it just turns into like, him just like taught basically. Jay grabs a hammer, starts smashing his knees, smashing his hands with it, and the guy's still there, like crying in pain, but still like so like thank you, and from like
he bashes his head in.
And that's and I will say the violence in this is phenomenal.
That's the other thing though, is that everything in this film feels real.
Yeah. I've never seen someone get their head smashed in with a hammer.
No.
But I would
imagine that's what it was.
Yeah, I wouldn't have think it had been like how I feel like most most films would portray it, of the hammer hitting the head and the head kind of exploding. It was very much bang and like you just see the skull crack. I would also like to say it was something that was quite good as well. It's not good, but how they portrayed the woman hanging. When the woman hanged herself.
Oh, yeah, near the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck.
Where, like, so basically they're seeing the cult for the first time and seeing it all action, and they've all got, like, masks on and are wearing capes, and some are naked for some reason. And it did feel like, I don't know if you thought about this, Niall, but the cult did seem very Britishy. Like it wasn't like you could go to see.
Well, it felt like something like the Burning Man, the Wicker Man.
Yes, but I'd also say like it was very much like I feel like some cults that you think of immediately will be like, oh, they all like wear the same stuff. Like they did do it in this film, but it was like very much like if there was a cult set in Britain, I would expect it to be kind of like that. Like it was very upper class. You know, you could see where the power was, and you could see who would like when you find out who's in control of, well, not in control, but who's part of the cult. You could see how it was.
There's that guy at the beginning, isn't there? And we'll look at some reviews in a minute. Producer Louis has a couple, I think, lined up.
I have one in particular.
He has one in particular lined up, but there's that bit at the beginning that I think feeds in perfectly into what you were saying about it being very English, and it's when they get the job.
Yeah,
and the guy cuts his hand open
and to shake hand,
and he's like fuck, and then he like the guy's like, oh yes, he's like very prim and proper.
Yeah,
and then you don't realize, but pretty much, I would say most people that you see in the film are in the cult.
I was going to ask you that because
there's that doctor that he goes to who's definitely in the cult.
Because I was going to ask you that because I've only seen this film once, and you've seen it a few times. I was going to ask that question to you. How many people did you think were actually in the cult from? Because like, the doctor was he has the cut in hand was getting infected, so we called the doctor up, and the doctor was like, "Oh yeah, no, just believe in yourself," and like, "Oh yeah, no, nothing's wrong with it. You're fine."
It's very. I mean, we'll get into the influences of it in a bit, but it was inspired by like H.P. Lovecraft. Like his stuff, so it does feel like that. I think that's what I like about it. It is what got me. So this film was like the catalyst for me wanting to do more horror stuff.
Yeah.
And it also made like it was like it's still probably in my, I would say it's in my top 10. But yeah, I would say probably. I think that's the scariest thing about it is that you don't know who's in the cult, but you could probably safely assume that most people you come across in it are.
I was going to say something to you. You know the film you made? If you want to shout it out.
Kissing Bug.
The first...
You are talking about that one?
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay, cool.
The first, like, the bit when they were talking about the killings, when Reverend Green and Jay were together, I saw parts of that in your film.
Oh yeah, 1000%.
And I was going to say to you, I could see where you got it from, like how in the film
it was a lot of Kill List.
Yeah,
it was like Kill List meets Barry, pretty much.
Yeah, and I was going to say you could see parts of that film and your film combined. Like if your film did,
maybe we'll do a Niall Beckwith retrospective one day.
Maybe.
Who knows? A Niall retrospective.
Should we go on to the reviews from?
We do, yes, because we don't have unlimited time today. In the world, you know, we're all gonna run out of time eventually.
It's a bit dark.
The film's pretty fucking bleak. Yeah. So, producer Louis, why don't you hit us with?
Right, boys. I have decided to look on IMDb.
Yes.
And look at the reviews. I've looked at 10-star reviews, the most rated star reviews, and the worst star reviews, the 1-star reviews.
Oh no.
One particular 1-star review has caught my attention because you boys have touched upon some of these topics.
So we're going to pass the mic over to producer Louis now, and he's going to read out this review, and then we're going to pass back and talk about it, I guess.
Sounds good.
Again, we're still trying these methods out. If this doesn't work, we'll probably tell Louis he can find something else to do.
This review, September 23rd, 2012, from David P. Lennon. I watched this film in my mate's house last night. Apart from finding it mind-numbingly boring and complete inane, I also found the film's relationship with and portrayal of violence childish and gratuitous and, quite frankly, obnoxious and disgraceful. It was a vapid piece of excrement, and anyone, like the last reviewer, who can compare this film to anything by Ken Loach is clearly submental. It seems that nowadays, if you film something shakily with a handheld camera and ask a bunch of dimwits to improvise a script, it's gritty. This film is shamefacedly derivative, lackluster, predictable, ballless, and dense. The homage, or however this director justifies his teabagging of the Wicker Man, was the straw that broke the camel's back. Oh, and the Hunchback. Let's make this like really profoundly horrible and gritty and disturbing and like totally awesome and stuff. Putrid ending. I really hope this director ends up photographing kebabs for his bread and butter. That's all he's worth. That review comes from David P. Lennon. David P. Lennon.
Okay, thanks, Lou.
That's crazy.
That is fucking nuts. I think David P. Lennon. Let's talk about David P. Lennon. I think David P. Lennon, you're a fucking idiot. I don't think Ben Wheatley was trying to make anything especially like profound.
I found it saying that the violence was
childish and
gratuitous and quite frankly obnoxious and disgraceful.
Did this guy have to bang out like the thesaurus?
I was gonna say there's some big words in there,
but like I feel like the violence doesn't feel gratuitous.
The violence felt more realistic.
Yeah,
like it wasn't like the violence was like there was a lot in it. There were some bits where you're like, ugh.
Was there a lot of shaky cam though?
I
don't remember there being a lot of shaky cam.
Maybe the tunnel part, but I wouldn't have said it was like anything where it like took me out of the film.
He deserves to photograph kebabs for a living.
You know what? You've got to give it to him for being so imaginative with those words.
Bro, say that shit about like fucking I don't know.
They're saying it about that film is crazy because
I've seen about Stanley Kubrick. I don't know.
I've seen tons of terrible films. That ain't one of them. I would love to see what he thinks about Minecraft. Does he do more than?
No, we're not. We'll tell you what.
There was
for
only
next
one
week.
review.
Only one review
on David P.
There
Lennon's.
was. I thought we could have done a David P. Lennon special.
Oh.
However, I did find a pretty good most common rating. The most common rating is 7 out of 10 stars. Would you boys like me to read that one?
We'd love to.
Yeah,
we'd love
sure.
you to.
When a British soldier returns home from Kiev, he joins an old friend as contract killers. His disturbed past surfaces as he spins out of control during jobs and ominous employers raise the stakes. Kill List is a pretty authentic slice of horror drama with several truly claustrophobic moments of total dread. The acting is fantastic and the script is well developed as it offers plenty of surprises. Some scenes of violence are very brutal, including particularly nasty hammer killing. The beginning of this film is pretty dull and there are some influences including legendary The Wicker Man and a Serbian film. Overall, Kill List mixes social drama with the occult horror pretty well. 7 hitmen out of 10.
Okay, I've not seen a Serbian film. I can only say on what I have heard about it. I wouldn't say this is anything like a Serbian film.
Oh, I've never seen it.
It's like a film about a guy. I'm not gonna. I think if I say it, because we upload on YouTube, obviously. If I say what it's about, the video will probably get fucking taken down. So, if you want to know what a Serbian film's about and you're over the age of 18, because I don't want to fucking encourage anyone discovering that, like, I'm not being funny, horror show, look it up. Don't know, because you'll regret it. Louis discovered what a Serbian film was.
I
don't think he enjoyed it very much.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Moving on. No, I think that guy's review is pretty spot on. I would have said that's very much if I had to write a full on review.
Well, you get it like a 3.5.
I gave it
so
3.5 on Letterboxd.
Yeah, that's a 7.
yeah.
No? Yeah.
And I like I said, the first 20 minutes wasn't my cup of tea. I think it was a bit too slow for me, but it did hook you in immediately. With as soon as it started to get going,
You did enjoy it overall.
I did enjoy it overall.
Yeah.
I think the ending to me is like as the guy said, a little bit too much with him killing his wife and kid, but I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say it's bad because of that.
No.
I think, was it needed? I don't know. I would have loved to know what an alternative ending could have been.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna say it was a bad ending.
So let's do some like breakdowns of it now, I guess, so you can hear a little bit more. So this is a film, obviously, as we've said before, by Ben Wheatley. It was written by him and his wife, Amy Jump. We love a husband and wife team. I believe that he's pretty much worked with his wife for his whole career.
That's amazing. I think this is the first film I've ever seen from him.
He's really good. I think we'll definitely do
what
some more.
What other films has he done? Can I ask?
He has done, Charlie. Here's a picture of Ben Wheatley, by the way, on the screen. That's Ben Wheatley. He's a cool guy, apparently. He's a really chill guy. He's done Sightseers, about a serial killing camper van.
Does he mainly do horror? Is that kind
of horror comedy? He's moving more into action now. He's just done.
I could see that being with the film we saw.
He's just done a film with Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, nice.
Which is kind of like a nobody sort of vibe. I've heard.
Oh, is that Meg 2?
He did the Meg 2. He did Rebecca. He did Free Fire, which is about an arms deal between the IRA and gangsters in Chicago, Boston. I want to say something like that. I think it's Boston. Let me check though. And it's Boston. It's in Boston, my house.
Boston.
But Kill List is his second film.
Nice.
Before that, he did a feature-length film called Down Terrace, which is a gangster film, which is like completely independently financed, and it's got some like quite big names in it. For like, it's got Jay's dad from The In-Between, isn't it?
Nice.
Pretty sure.
Mr. Cartwright.
Mr. Cartwright himself. But this was a co-production between Warpex, Rook Films, Film 4, UK Film Council, and Screen Yorkshire. Leeds. Yorkshire. And what I want to talk about is the early influences quickly. I want to tell you this, Charlie, and see what you think.
Go for it.
So originally, he wanted it to be a hybrid of the styles and themes of Get Carter and H.P. Lovecraft. And it was originally supposed to be filmed in the Philippines.
Crazy.
So we got a very different film in the end.
Yeah.
Compared to what it was at the beginning. I find that fascinating. Like, what would the film have been like if it was
set in the Philippines?
Set in the Philippines, I don't know.
I'm happy that it was set
in the jungle, maybe or maybe in the city in Manila. I can't name another Filipino cities.
I like that it was set in Britain because I think it did give it
because it makes it way more bleak.
Yeah,
so bleak.
I was going to ask you. I had a question for you now, if that's okay.
Yeah.
What was your favourite part of the film?
My favourite part is probably that last 15 minutes.
The last 15
where they go after the cult and they're like they have like the big gun that they set up earlier in the film. He's like, nah. He shoots one of them and it makes this, like, the cultist makes this fucking awful sound. It's like a sort of screech. Almost. Yeah. Do you remember? It's really horrible. It's really horrible to listen to.
I think a lot of the violence in that, like, I feel like I can handle a lot of it in films, and it was to the point where some of it was like probably some of the best. Well, that sounds bad, but some of a good, like, it was very very realistic with the violence, and it did make you like ugh a few times. Don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. Wheatley has actually specifically wrote the part of Jay for Neil Maskell. He'd previously worked with him on a TV series. I just can't imagine anyone else in the role.
No,
I think feels like he played it so perfectly, and Neil Maskell had previously done Utopia as Arby, I want to say. We're big Utopia heads in the podcast suite. Louis' a big Utopia head. I'm a big Utopia head. You haven't seen Utopia?
Never seen it.
Really good show. It's got loads of really famous people in it. It's got
Man from Four Lions.
It's got Paul Higgins in it, who plays producer Louis. What is the other Scottish guy in the thick of it? The like really aggressively violent one.
I know who you mean.
Him. We'll get an answer on that in a second. But he's just so unbelievably fantastic in this film. And we've got a little surprise for you at the end. Not for you, for the listeners.
Gonna say. Oh, yes.
So we have managed to have a little guest for this episode. We won't be speaking to him, but we have sent off questions to him. We've got our field operative in the field asking him questions. And so we are now going to take a break for your ears, and here is the Neil Maskell Q&A, which is kind of crazy for a second episode, but yeah, enjoy, and we'll be right back after this.
Right. So it's a pleasure to be talking to you today, Neil. Got just a few questions for you about the film. I'm incredibly excited to talk about it. I'm a massive fan.
Well, thanks a
Um,
lot.
I think it was one of the first sort of English horror films that I remember seeing that I was like, this is a bit different. This is something that feels very different and it feels very of its own and it feels like it's inspired a lot that's come after it. So I wanted to start with the film goes through a lot of genre and tonal shifts. Obviously, it starts off as this sort of kitchen sink drama, which then moves into a hitman crime film and then sort of into a horror Satanist madhouse. I was just wondering, when you first read the script, what was your reaction to that?
Uh, well, I suppose it was a long time ago. I don't want to attribute false memory to it. And I mean, really, like most actors, you're sort of reading it more about what happens to my character. You know, oh right, I'm playing this guy, I'll be doing that guy. So it's always an incredibly subjective read. Sorry, let me just plug my computer in. Yeah, it's always an incredibly subjective read at an actor's sort of first read of a script, because you are definitely reading it from, you know, the point of view of sort of immediately of what you're going to end up having to do in it. But yeah, I mean, obviously it was just brilliant. Can you imagine, you know, like,
Yeah.
and thinking that the guy who wrote this wants you to play the lead in it. It was extraordinary. Brilliant bit of writing. But also as well, me and Ben had discussed some of the themes, and he had another project called Get Jakarta that was about a man who got sort of kidnapped by a Indonesian tribe and who'd made an effigy out of the limbs of babies they'd sacrificed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so then I sort of knew tonally where we might be, but it was still very shocking and you know, brilliant bravura bit of writing.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And I did read about that big how it began as Get Jakarta, and then it developed from a short film that you and Maya Bering were going to do about bank robbers during the recession.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, like a short. Yeah, and then we
yeah.
didn't end up shooting that because everyone was ill the
Oh
same
God.
weekend. Yeah, I thought that might be the end of everything when that short didn't get made, but then quite quickly afterwards we were making Kill It.
The fact this film, I think, exists and the fact it still stays relevant within circles of people talking about it, I think is a testament to how great it is and how great you all are in the film.
Well, me and
Um,
Smiley, I had to do a Q&A about it the other day. For some reason, it's coming up a fair bit at the moment, and our relationships have sustained in a way that doesn't always happen. You know, it's a very transitory job acting, and you're always moving around and moving on to new people. But I'm still very close to Smiley, to Mianna, to Nick Gillespie, who was second camera, Ben, obviously, and Amy, his wife, and Bobby Entwistle, who was the sound guy on It's Still a Mate. You know, it's a strange thing how tied up we are, and maybe there's no coincidence in the fact that the film's lasted.
yeah,
Incredibly important experience in my life, not just in my career.
yeah, right. I can imagine. Would you say that it was sort of because obviously I think from looking at your filmography and in preparing for this, I watched more of your stuff, even though I'd seen a lot of it before. Would you say that this role was more formative with the stuff you wanted to carry on doing, considering you'd done a lot of sort of Football Factory, a lot of I remember I watched an interview with you where you said that your mum was always on whenever you would call your mum about a role, she was always saying, "Oh, is he a thug?"
Is it a
So
thug?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be glib about it, but obviously I was playing bigger parts after
mm,
all this came out, you know. And yeah, definitely more nuanced, probably. Although you're always trying to bring that to stuff, even when I was doing, maybe sort of those football hooligan films and gangster films. So yeah, definitely it was. I mean, it isn't about really what I wanted to do. No, it was more that what the opportunities that were then
Right.
available to me changed vastly off the back of Kill List.
Yeah, right.
Life changing.
I can imagine. I can imagine. I was reading earlier today that you and I want to ask you about how, you view Jay's backstory, but I was reading that you and Michael Smiley developed the idea that you were both snipers during the Iraq War.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, how does that sort of process come about when you're looking at the backstory of a character when it's not explicitly stated on the page?
Yeah, by looking at like what they do for a living, and then doing a bit of reading about other people who do that job and what backgrounds they typically come from, and what the sort of, and they were private security contractors. So I was looking at people who that really was the focus of my research. And then Smiley came with the notion that they were snipers, and that I don't. I'm probably going to use the wrong terminology here. It's been a long time now, but essentially, Jay was like the trigger man, and Gal was the spotter. You know,
Right.
he this was research he'd found, and he brought to the project, and we were like, yeah, that's great. What a brilliant idea! And we even had these sort of dice tattoos that were on our hands that don't feature in the film, despite the fact they took fucking ages to put on every day. Um, that was like a number one and a number two to indicate that, and it
Right.
was Michael's idea. Yeah, so sort of a bit of a clash of those things, and then when I shared the stuff that I'd looked into about private security contractors and the sort of circuit that they work on, how they can go from the Caribbean to Iraq to sort of South Asia without any checks on passports and whatever. They sort of move,
Like ghosts almost just
like
throughout.
ghosts. Very good words, yeah, like ghosts, and how these two guys might have been tied into that. And it was very interesting, the research. Actually, I've revisited it for other roles that have involved this sort of people in similar jobs. Did I answer your question, though? I'm so
I think
sorry.
so. Yeah, no, yeah, you definitely did. You definitely did. But carrying on from just what I was talking before about sort of the tone and the feel of the film, would you say that you're quite attracted to these dark characters? Like Arby, for example, from Utopia is quite disturbed, and Bull is also
Yeah,
another person who's quite messed
I
up.
mean, I'm cast in these parts. Yeah, it's all they're really interesting roles. They're really detailed. I mean, on the page, and then hopefully I'm bringing stuff to it that does that even more. Yeah, I suppose I am. I don't know if it's attracted to dark characters as complicated ones,
Yeah.
really. I mean, those three do happen to be found themselves in pretty bleak circumstances, but if you'd have said to 15-year-old me, you're going to play assassins, gangsters, and hitmen, I think I'd have been all right with it.
I think anyone would have been. I think that's
You
probably
know what I
the,
mean?
you know, people like De Niro, like for example, Bull, for
Yeah.
example, is a very sort of Travis Bickle-esque character to an extent. There's a
Well,
darkness.
I'm compared to Robert De Niro frequently, and I'm sure that he must get bored of the comparison.
I know he must be sick of saying, "Oh, who's this Neil fella?" I'm sick of being compared to.
Yeah, no, when I'm doing it, I don't think of them in that way. Truly, I don't, and I do try and bring a sort of humanity and detail and hopefully some nuance to the parts. But yeah, as well, I don't want to play down how exciting and fun I suppose it is to be
Yeah,
cast roles in the first place.
yeah, no, I can imagine. But
Yeah.
with these sort of and especially a film as dark as Kill List, I can imagine it helped having a lot of people who have a background in comedy. Michael Smiley, for example, helping keep the camaraderie up on set, so everyone's not feeling.
Michael Smiley has a foreground in comedy.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, 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 no. But like, I would imagine it would help keeping the camaraderie up on set, having people like that around who know how to keep things light and
Oh,
sort of
mate, we laughed like you wouldn't believe on that job. We absolutely, and there was a lot of improvisation, which was so
mm,
funny. Oh, it was heaven. It was heaven. The people working on that, when we were at Fly Together. And I mean, as it went on, it got a bit more immersive and sort of we all got a bit unhinged, I think, but it was still funny. Yeah, and I mean, it meant that the comedy aspect of it meant that people were used to sort of being playful and improvising and stuff. And though I wasn't from comedy, I'm quite comfortable improvising.
oh,
So
okay.
yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Because there's that scene in the film, and there's a dark element to it, but it always does make me laugh whenever I watch it, where you're in the hotel and
Mhm.
there's the group of like
Oh
Christian
yeah, with Ben
singers.
Crompton
That
and
is
Rob Hill.
so unbelievably funny. And you're like very matter of factly going, I'm going to go over there, I'm going to kill them slowly, one by
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing that scene. That was great fun. I mean, that stuff, just me and Michael getting to do. And then all of those singers who were all, comedy actors and good people and people we got on really well with. Also, we were out on the road then, which we quite enjoyed, me and Michael. We enjoyed being out a bit. Yeah, that was great. And there's a bit of improvisation in that, I think, in the bit with Ben as well. So, yeah.
It's just such an that and there's the other scenes like the rabbit scene at the
Yeah.
beginning where you take the dead rabbit and you make lunch out. She's going, "Oh God, no, don't."
And I cooked the rabbit. Yeah. I mean, I know later on we had to skin a rabbit, and I was very keen for Michael to do that. Who was brilliant at it, by the way. He learned how to skin a rabbit and did it very efficiently within about half an hour. It was amazing.
Very strange. Very
Yeah,
strange.
yeah, it was impressive, very impressive.
Got to make you wonder why. How did he come onto it so quickly? How was he able to take
Yeah,
to it
well,
so
no, someone
quickly?
showed him how to do it, and he just turned his hand to it. He's better at that. So I don't have very good fine motor skills, so I'm no good with anything like
Right.
that.
The other thing about the film is that some of the scariest scenes aren't explicitly the horror scenes. Like the scene, the whole dinner party with you, Michael Smiley, Maya Bering, and the other actress in that scene. I
Emma
can't remember it.
Fryer. Yeah, Emma.
There you go. That whole it's just like the tension is so just it's excruciating. It feels like whenever I watch, it feels like there's a pressure cooker in my head. I'm just like, please
Absolutely.
just make it go off. Make it go off.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of improvisation there as well, but the bomb's under the table because they're skint and they need money, and this is the opportunity, and that's there and it's present. This sort of, yeah, it's brilliant. All good stuff. I mean, yeah, Ben sort of provides those circumstances, and then everyone can work inside them. It's amazing. It's so edifying professionally to work like that.
I can imagine. Would you say that working with Ben Wheatley on a film like this, he's a good because you have certain directors like one that comes to mind is David Fincher, where everything's very exacting,
Yeah,
or Wes Anderson, everything's like, no, I want you to go from here to here and do this exact thing, and we'll do it 200 times.
yeah.
Whereas, is it with Ben, it's more rewarding as an actor because he allows you to explore ideas that you want to explore.
It's my favourite way of working that I've ever worked. I love working with him. I love the way that goes. I love improvising. I love getting the opportunity to do all that stuff, that looseness. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of precision in general, in art.
Right.
I appreciate it, but it doesn't move me in. I like mess and chaos, and that's what gets to me. I like David Fincher's work very much, particularly Benjamin Button. I love, um, and I find Wes Anderson difficult for that reason. The precision of it really alienates me.
Right.
I appreciate it and I admire it, but it puts my teeth on edge. So yeah, no, yeah, I very much lean towards Ben. We have similar influences as directors as well. Me and Ben are both devotees of John Cassavetes and Alan Clark and Peter Watkins, the British filmmaker, and that stuff has got a sort of live energy to it.
Did you look at anything else? Oh, obviously, you researched private security contractors for this. But
Mm.
were there any films or books or series or even music that you looked at when you were preparing the role of Jay, or anything that
We
Ben told you
watched.
to look at?
Well, we watched. I mean, I was already into Cassavetes, but we watched Faces while we were filming it to try and get that sort of that feel there. I watched Come and See, which is a film you don't forget and don't want to particularly watch again. Yeah, but I can't think of anything else. I mean, blimey, as well, it's a long time now. I hate to,
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, normally I do have sort of musical stuff and going on and all that, but I'm not sure I actually did for that. But me and Ben have always swapped like suggestions of movies. Normally he gives me films that blow my mind, and I suggest films to him that he comes back and tells me what's wrong with them.
That's brilliant. Oh my
Yeah.
God. What was the last film you recommended to him?
Christ, that's an interesting question. We spoke, well, I don't know if recommended. We had a chat about 3 weeks ago. I met up with him in London and we were sort of talking about films in general. I think we were just talking about last year's big ones and Nora and Conclave and all that stuff and what we liked and what didn't. Both of those films, I think both of us liked very much. Yeah, obviously, I'm not going to talk about stuff
Yeah.
in any public forum that we were less keen on. But yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything specifically I've sent his way recently, or he has me. But he's got a very interesting film coming out soon that he's made with Sam Riley.
Yes. I've heard
Yeah,
about it. I've heard
I think
it's
it'll be fantastic. I always feel a bit jealous when he gets other actors to play parts, but Sam Riley is really good.
he is very, very good.
He's
He's
a great
very
actor.
good. I've heard he's a really nice bloke. You and Sam worked together, didn't you, on Happy New Year, Colin Burstead?
In Bursted, we played brothers, yeah, yeah. And then
Yeah.
we all met up in London. We were both, he was on one job and I was on another during COVID, and we were locked in during the height of lockdown in a hotel in Mayfair and could communicate through the walls.
Was a bit of Morse code, like tapping,
Yeah, tapping
tapping
and
through the
shouting,
wall.
like being in the shovel, you know.
We've very briefly met before. And I think I
Yes,
did mention to you about Colin Burstead. I remember you saying, "Oh, I think you're about one of 12 people that's seen it."
yeah,
Um, uh, I think it's a very good fit, and it's like if you take the tension that's in that beginning bit of that sort of bomb under the table Alfred Hitchcock thing,
yeah,
but the tension is just when are these people gonna sort of have a go at each other and a bit of a row?
yeah,
But it still has that same tension of like any thriller.
yeah.
It's really bizarre, and it feels the most different out of Ben's films as well. Apart from Down Terrace, it feels a bit like a bit of a companion piece almost to Down Terrace with the
Yes,
family
I think.
element.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, he's got other stuff that's in that same vein as well that he's always threatening to make, and I do hope we get to do another one together. You know, I really, really do. I miss him. I miss being on set with him. You know.
Oh,
Yeah.
what so what have you got coming out soon?
So I've got the Hack, which is an ITV seven-parter about the hacking scandal and the Leveson inquiry. You know, the News of the World, the collapse of the News of the World newspaper, and then I'm in a show on Netflix called The Witness, which is about the Rachel Nickell murder in 1992 on Wimbledon Common. I played Keith Pedder, who was the man who was in charge of the investigation into Rachel Nickell's murder. And then another project I'm not allowed. I've got an NDA on, so a big net drops down and people run out and
You'll
bash me
see
up.
lasers go onto your head if you mention any word
Exactly,
about
yeah, that's the
it.
big spotlights. I did a film called Straight Circle, which I think is going to be really interesting for a director called Oscar Hudson in South Africa on the salt pans of the Northern Cape, which was very
Oh
interesting.
my God.
Yeah, middle of nowhere. I mean, really the middle of nowhere. I said to him before I went down there, I went, is it going to be mental for creepy crawlies and all that? And he said, oh, no, not on the pan. It's too hot. Nothing can live on the pan. It's like,
Oh, lovely.
where we're filming can live. Uh, and that was true. That was where we was filming, where nothing can live.
Oh,
But I think it'll be I mean, I've seen parts of it just in the edit, and he's an extraordinary filmmaker, and I think it's going to be an incredible film. So yeah, that's Straight Circle, and then I've got a sort of film which is a documentary with reconstruction in it, but it's reconstruction done in a very unusual way, like you haven't seen before, of an inquiry, a coroner's inquest. Called Molly versus the Machines, which is all about a young girl called Molly Russell who took her life at age 14 due to, or partly due to, her engagement with Instagram, the algorithms of which gave her increasingly pretty much encouraging material towards
Oh my
her
God, Jesus.
how she took her life and how she masked what she was going through from her family was learned very much from Instagram and stuff. As it's not been released yet, I don't want to say too much about the
Hmm.
format of the documentary, but I played a KC, the barrister who was who interviewed the representatives from Meta on the stand, and and we were working with Molly's, the director of the documentary is Mark Silver, but Molly Russell's father, Ian Russell, was present on set all the time, and was part of the directing of that. So it was an incredibly powerful experience, and I think it's going to be a really extraordinary film. It's called Molly versus the Machines.
Okay, well, no, it sounds absolutely brilliant and
I mean, in the
definitely,
context, I find even that title absolutely devastating, actually.
yeah. I think it sounds like a really important film, especially now with the way
Yeah,
social media is.
yeah,
Um, I mean, I can't when I was I'm what am I now? I'm 22, but when I was growing up, Instagram was I feel a very different place to what it is now. And it's just
really.
social media in general. Yeah, I think it's less. It was when I was younger, it definitely felt less volatile than what I hear about is on there now. Feels Instagram now feels a lot more like a volatile, and just social media in general feels like a more volatile, dangerous space with the rise of, people like Andrew Tate who actively encourage, the harm and control of women.
Yeah,
And then, there's no antithesis to that within other circles. And so it's allowed to rise to the top
I
of the
see.
algorithms because you have like, clips that go, oh, look how, oh, he's got a Bugatti, he's got this car. And then people flew through like rabbit holes of like horrific stuff. And then you obviously have stuff about that
And
does encourage.
it's more like that now than it used to be.
I would definitely say so. I would say it's a lot worse of a place to encourage harm and danger to young people than it was when I was younger. And even when I was younger, it was bad, but it wasn't. I don't. Maybe I've got rose tinted glasses on about it, but it didn't feel as bad as it was
Yeah.
because I don't ever remember seeing stuff. I don't remember hearing about the stuff that's happening now back then. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely gotten worse. That's sounds like an incredibly important piece.
I think it's going to make a real impact, and I just hope that it finds a wide audience, because I felt thankful as a father to have been presented with this story and presented with the information around it. Actually, really
I can
grateful.
imagine. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
definitely. It's going to be. I think just from what you said, it's going to be one that really makes a lot of parents and even young people think about the stuff that their
I hope so. I
kids
really
are
do.
seeing online.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and I mean, we shot that last March, and they'd already been on it for 3 years. The Mark Silver's incredible filmmaker. Yeah, so I don't think we're far away from that starting to at least do the festivals and stuff.
Yeah, well, we'll keep our eye out for it. Just to wrap up before I let you go, because I know you're a very busy guy. Seeing as we are a horror podcast, I know
Yes,
you're not. I read on an interview you're not great with horror,
yeah.
but we would love to know your sort of top desert island horror films.
Okay. Penda's Fen is the one for me, and I've actually written about Pender's Fen for a horror magazine. I was
Oh
for
wow.
a non-horror guy. Yeah, very special film. Alan Clark, very underseen, brilliant piece of filmmaking. Waking Fright, the Australian. I tend to like the ones where it's like the humans are the baddies.
Yeah, I
Don't
get
need
that.
monsters or anything. And if I have the third one, well, the film that has made one of the most significant impacts on my life and that I love and almost hate in equal measure is Jaws.
I just watched that for the first time the other day. I hadn't seen it before.
Well, I saw it when I was far too young. I have never been in open water and not thought of it. I don't go in the sea at age 48, and I think that's my huge phobia about that, which has got worse and worse, is absolutely rooted in that movie.
Oh
And I
my
still
God.
think it's brilliant. I think the acting's brilliant. I think the writing's brilliant. It's a fucking masterpiece of a film.
Yeah,
If horror's supposed to scare you and keep you scared, here I am nearly 50 years after I saw it, still afraid.
it still holds up as well. It's still just I when I watched it the other day, I knew I know the bit where the shark comes onto the boat and starts,
Yeah, that's the only bit that doesn't quite work in it.
but everything else is so scary and so full of tension. That bit on the beach where he's looking across trying to spot if there's a
Yeah,
shark in the water, so good. The dolly zoom,
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, whoever directed it should
He should be
have a
doing some
big
more stuff, I
career.
think. I think he should. I think he's doing. Hopefully, he's doing all
I
right.
seem to really know what he was doing.
Well, thank you so much for this, Neil. It's been an incredible pleasure to chat to you again.
Been a delight, mate. Thanks for your thoughtful questions and for interesting things you say about Instagram. That's sad but very interesting to me.
Yeah, thank you so much again, and I hope to talk to you again at some point in the future.
Yeah, I hope so. Socially, if not on a podcast.
Yeah,
All right, mate. Well, I really hope it goes well. I hope you do get to chat to Michael, and if I get
I'm talking to him tomorrow.
oh,
I've
fantastic!
got it
And I
organised for
haven't heard
tomorrow.
from Mianna yet, but I know Mianna's got a kid and is also incredibly busy, so I
Yeah,
know she
no,
will come back to me if she gets the opportunity.
yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Well, good luck with it, and I'm sure I'll hear from Michael. So yeah, I'll let him know that I enjoyed it very much.
Okay, well that's good. That puts me at ease a little bit.
Oh, really, really, I really did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mike. Well, Neil. Thank you.
All right, mate.
Have a
Speak
good one.
soon.
Hello and welcome back to, if you're listening to this, we're probably dead. Welcome back to the very end of the podcast. Thank you so much for listening to it. Thank you for the support on the last episode. Even though as we're recording this, it's not out.
You may have hated it. No
You
one
may
could
have
be watching it.
fucking hated it, but I think you guys are probably going to like this episode more than the last episode. I would hope.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
So we're talking about a decent film, and we're not just telling you what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's. I guess.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I love this film. It's a mainstay. I've written essays about it. I've written 2 essays about it actually.
Damn.
Once at uni, once for secondary school. And it's always going to be a film that I look back fondly on, that I'm always looking to for inspiration. Anything Ben Wheatley. Ben, if you're listening, reach out. Come on the show.
We can't afford it.
But yeah, really good film. Love it. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Or an 8 out of 10.
Amazing. I would say yes. I did. I have to think about the film. It was very much. I loved the end. Well, I loved the last. Well, I didn't enjoy the first 20, but I loved the rest. But now thinking about it more, as you said, it does make it better with this pacing being slow at the beginning. So yeah, I would recommend this film. I think it's very, very good. I'd probably give it a 6.5 out of 10. And yeah, I did think the some of the scenes in there were absolutely phenomenal.
You're not still confused? Not
Not
maybe in a
confused.
good way?
Maybe we'll have to do a rewatch one point. A look back.
A re-look back and a rewatch. I definitely rewatched the film though.
Okay, good. I'm glad though. because it's a film that, as I said at the beginning, I'm always wanting to show people and see what they think.
Yeah.
And also a massive, massive fucking thank you to Neil Maskell.
Oh yes.
He didn't have to do that. He's a very, very nice guy.
Let's shuffle and find out what film we're watching for our next episode.
So, Charlie, for the next episode.
Here we go.
Oh, but we haven't told about where it goes in the ranking yet.
Oh,
we haven't done the ranking for the week.
Well, there's only 2 films.
So, are we saying that this is better than Countdown?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I don't even need to think about it. I think everyone watching this already knows that it's better than Countdown. By the way, we've spoke about this film. I couldn't think of...
Countdown fucking sucks.
I can think of...
It sucks.
I don't think it sucks.
It does. No, Charlie, it's a bad film. It's a bad film.
If you just want to watch a film and just kind of just
but
be
it's
there...
but it's not even like... It's so funny it's bad. That's the thing.
I think
it's
there's some scenes that are so funny that it's bad.
But they're not, Charlie. It's just not good.
I enjoyed the reverend scene and the guy that works at the phone store. I didn't care about any of the main characters at all. But I do care about these characters.
Totally fucking woke.
So I would say I did prefer this over...
Total fucking woke
over Countdown.
nonsense. I honestly thought you were about to say you preferred Countdown.
No, I prefer Kill
I would have actually thrown.
I prefer Kill List over Countdown. Yes, so
okay.
Kill List is top
fine.
at the moment.
Okay, right. So
let's shuffle.
There's actually 2 more Neil Maskell films in here. I didn't even realise. Okay, right. Are you ready?
Yep.
So next week's film, as you know, you guys don't find out till the episode comes out what the film we're talking about is. But we leave clues.
Yes.
At the end, there'll be a little puzzle in the bottom. Maybe I'll do an emoji puzzle this week.
An emoji puzzle?
Who knows?
I like it.
To figure out what it is. But shuffling. Okay. Next week's film is a horror comedy starring David Norton and Griffin Dunn, and is directed by John Landis. And
What year
it was
is it?
released in the year of our Lord, 1981. It's an absolute classic. I think it's going to be a really fun episode. It's, to me, a perfect film. It doesn't miss. And I don't know if you've seen it or not, which is going to be even better. So you have that to work off, everyone.
Amazing.
Thank you again so much for listening. We do really appreciate it.
Oh yes,
because we're enjoying making this.
Yeah.
I think it's really fun.
It's lovely watching films that I haven't seen
and then chatting about them.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fun. Louis has a lot of fun coming down and just watching the screen.
I'll have a lot of fun watching you too.
And yeah, again, thank you to everyone who supports. Just subscribe, smash that like button. And I'll catch you later, bros. Brofist.
Oh.